Welcome to yoga. This is my public service message for the day. If you haven't voted already, please go ahead and vote. Our officials need to be accountable to us, and we need to use our power that many people have sacrificed so that we can have. Just a second, I'm going to turn on the other lights because we're getting a lot of. There we go. I think that's a little bit better. So welcome to yoga. Find a seated position, nice and tall. You want to open your chest, bring the shoulders down. And let's just do some arm circles here. Big arm circles forward. And backwards. And I find this is really nice for opening up the chest a little bit. Now we're going to engage a little bit through the back of the arms, kind of like bring your arms out and you're going to just kind of flick your arms behind you, like you're trying to slap someone behind you. You're not flapping your arms are staying still. You're just flicking the wrists here in order to engage the back of the arms, getting those triceps. Really getting a burn in those small muscles of the arms. I don't know about you, but my arms are starting to feel fatigued. All right, let's stretch out, reach behind you, interlace, and we're just gonna stretch out through that area that we just worked. All right, reach up with one arm, and you can reach around or reach over to try to get a stretch in the back of the triceps. And let's switch, or you can create a bind if you are able or prefer. Deep breaths. Release. Let's just shake out those hands and arms. We're going to come into a tabletop position for some cat and cow stretches. Drop your belly, look up as you inhale, and then exhale round, chin to chest. Come to a neutral spine, and we're going to do a little bit more to kind of bring some flexibility to the spine. So just kind of shaking your tail a little bit here, moving your hips from side to side. And now imagine that you're in a big barrel, and we're going to circle the rib cage around in order to touch all the sides of the barrel. So first, lifting the rib cage up to touch the top, bringing it over to the side, and then coming down and around and just circling leaving some space in between those vertebrae. Kind of helping to get rid of that stiffness that we tend to get in the spine. Now let's go the other way. Circle here. Let's come back to child's pose. Take a little break here. You can even bring your knees wider if you like. Stretch out those arms. All right, from here we're going to move around the hips a little bit more. You can, like, if you can't come all the way down onto your knees like this, you can definitely be up higher or do a smaller circle. I want you to work within your range of motion, not feel badly if it's different from mine. All bodies are different. So we're gonna bring the hands up and you're gonna interlace all the fingers except the pointer finger here. This is a divine mudra, or you can just clasp your hands if that feels better. And we're gonna circle those hips around. So it can be a small circle, just kind of like this, just kind of a hula, or you can circle it around a little deeper if you're able. And you're welcome to have more cushioning underneath your knees if you need it. We're not trying to grind your knees down to polish them. So if you need a cushion there, that's fine. Let's go the other direction now. Circle around. Now I'm going to release my hands and bring them to my hips, and I'm going to kind of do a modified camel pose. I'm not going to reach down for the ankles. It's going to be supported. So hands on my low back, fingertips up. I'm just going to look up and stretch out a little bit. You don't want to do a full back bend even if it's in your practice, because we're not quite warm enough for that yet. Just opening up bit by bit. All right, let's release and we're gonna come back into child's pose and then we'll work a little more on the hips. All right, so let's come into kind of a 90-degree angle with this knee, and the back knee is also at a getting space. Sorry about that. And what I want you to do is bring your hips forward, and then you're going to gently lean forward a little bit so that you get a stretch in the front of this hip. So really tilt your tailbone forward so that you get a stretch in the front of this leg here. Now I'm going to gently come forward a little more, kind of releasing the hip here, letting it tilt back a little bit more. Coming into a low lunge here. And now I'm feeling this stretch more in the back of the leg and the groin area as opposed to the front of the hip. Okay, let's make our way up into a kneeling lunge. And this is a good place if you actually have some knee issues. My knees are getting a little bit older, so I need a little more padding. I'm gonna fold my mat here to have a little bit more padding underneath and gently come up. Bring the arms up and shoulders down. Okay, now I'm gonna bring my hands, interlace them behind my neck and just gently open up here, kind of resting my head back behind. All right, let's release and we're gonna try the other side now. So coming back onto all fours, I'm gonna bring the other leg forward for me. It's the right leg. Bring this and eat a 90-degree angle. And then coming up, I'm gonna tuck my tail and lean forward a little bit to stretch the front of that hip. And the more I tuck that tail and start to kind of press forward, the more I feel that push and pull of the stretch. All right, coming forward now. This is a different stretch. Now I'm releasing more through the hips rather than the front of the hip. Notice if you feel discomfort or resistance, and see if you can use your breath and relax a little bit and just kind of accept that, the fact that stretching can be intense. All right, I'm gonna come into my low lunge now. So gently coming up, bringing the shoulders down. Just kneeling into this lunge. Interlace the hands, and I'm going to bring them behind my neck and just gently open up here. And release. I am going to stretch out my mat again, and let's do a few sun salutations from here. So from all fours, curl your toes under, lift your knees up and press back for downward facing dog. And let's walk out our first dog, pedaling here. Bend your knees, inhale, look forward, and on your exhale, gently step up. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, bow down. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, lift. Exhale, bow. Inhale, look up. Let's come into a plank. Step forward, and now if you want here, you can lower down and come into a low cobra. I'm not doing that as much now, so I'm just gonna hold a plank because I found that chaturanga has been irritating my neck. So I'm gonna just press up and back to downward facing dog. Let's work a little bit on the buns from here. So taking your right leg, it can be either flexed or pointed, it doesn't really matter, but we're gonna lift it up and just kind of pulse up here. Just getting those buns engaged for our practice. And if this is too much being in a three-legged dog, you can come down to all fours, okay? And do that from there. All right, I'm gonna lower down and bring the other leg up. And now bend that knee and lower and lift here. You can have flexed or pointed for the foot. Release down, bend your knees, inhale, look forward, and on your exhale, step up. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, bow down. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release. Bring your hands back, step back. Come forward, and you can take a flow here, or like me, you can hold a plank. And I'm gonna come up and back to downward facing dog. Let's do this again on both sides. So bend the right knee, bring it up, and we're just gonna pulse here, either with a flexed foot or a pointed foot, it doesn't matter. Release. We're going to get the other side now. Bend, bring that foot up, and pulse it here. And those hips are square to your mat right now, so you're not opening to the side. And release. Bend your knees, inhale, look forward. Exhale, step up. Inhale, circle, sweep up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, lift. Exhale, bow down. Inhale, look up. Exhale, release. Inhale all the way up. And let's take a gentle back bend just like we did at the beginning here. So bringing your hands to your low back, fingertips up. Just gonna do a gentle standing back bend here. let's release. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, lift. Exhale, bow down. Inhale, look up. And bend your knees, plant your hands. And again, for me, I'm gonna come to plank and hold plank. You can take a flow here, lowering down, coming to low cobra or up dog. And now I'm gonna bring my hips up and back for downward facing dog. Let's come into a warrior two variation from here. So lift the right leg up. You're gonna step through your hands, or you can help that foot up, or you can even use a chair for warrior two here. Bring the back foot down. Then we're gonna open up here, okay? And now we're gonna come into a variation. Bring your arms to like goalpost arms here, kind of like the Seahawks goalpost, and you're gonna look towards the side of the room. And now we're gonna do a little flow here, kind of a dynamic. We're gonna lower down, bringing the arms together and rounding the back, and then come back up, opening and stretching. So round and open. And keep going. Inhale as you open. Exhale as you round. Open up, we're gonna extend here. And let's move back into that kneeling lunge. So I'm gonna pivot here, coming into a crescent lunge, and then lower down and untuck the back toe. So shoulders down here, and you're gonna bring your arms behind you. We're just gonna gently open up here. Just resting the head back on the hands, opening through the chest. And now release. We're gonna come back into that hip stretch. So tucking the tailbone, stretching through the front of that hip. Then we'll get the other side. Now lower down. Let's stretch out a little bit more here through the hips. Now let's come back, curl the toes under, lift the knees up and come to downward facing dog. Okay, now let's come into our warrior on the other side. So inhale, left leg up, step or help all the way up. We come into a traditional warrior two, arms stretched out. Front heel is pointed towards the middle of the back foot. And now we're gonna come into that goalpost position. So bringing the arms bent like a cactus and bringing our gaze towards the side of the room here. Okay, we're gonna round as we close the arms and then open up. Exhale, round. Inhale, open. Keep going. stretching out, we're gonna flip around, lowering down, coming into a crescent lunge, kneeling crescent lunge. So untuck the back toe. And now interlacing the hands, we're gonna open up through the chest here. And now releasing this stretch, coming back into more of a 90-degree angles, tucking the tail. I'm gonna lean forward a little bit to stretch the front of this hip. And now let's come forward, ease back a little bit, open deeper through the hips. Let's come back into child's pose. And now coming into our lightning pose, we're gonna come back into those hip circles. So interlacing all but the pointer finger, we're gonna circle around here. We're gonna come into a deeper back bend after this. All right, let's go the other way. So we're gonna try coming into camel pose. Turn around here, and you're welcome to curl the feet up a little bit here. Bring your hands to your hips. You're gonna gently stretch up, and I'm gonna do kind of a half camel here. So stretching up and back, I'm gonna reach back for one of my heels and stretch the other arm up. And let's try the other side. So again, coming into position, maybe bringing the knees a little wider, stretch up and back, and you're gonna reach back for that other ankle. All right, coming up from here, let's come into gate pose. So extend the right leg towards the front of the mat, right hand to right thigh. Let's stretch forward here. And let's get the other side. So stretching towards the back of your mat now. Come around, and we're going to try our warrior flow one more time on each side. Coming onto all fours, curl the toes under, lift the knees up, and press back for downward facing dog. Inhale the right leg up, Exhale, step it through between the hands. Back foot comes down. Sweep up and open for warrior two. Okay, bending the arms into those goalpost or cactus arms. We're gonna round as we come down, rounding the back, and then inhale, open. Exhale, round. Inhale, open. We're gonna do this 10 times. So that's 3. And now for the last one, just bring your arms together, and if you want, you can take this a little deeper into kind of a eagle arms and stretch out through the upper back. I'm gonna come deeper into this pose and just hold this, stretching out through the upper back. All right, release. We're gonna come around, lower into a kneeling lunge, untuck the back toe, interlace the hands, bring them behind you. I'm just gonna open up here. And now lean forward, stretching out through the hip. And coming all the way down and forward. And let's do something a little bit different this time. We're gonna come back and stretch out the back of this front leg. And you can come forward as much as you're able here. And let's make our way back to downward facing dog. Curl the back toe under, step back. Left foot comes up, step it through. Back foot comes down, opening up to warrior two. And now coming into those goalpost arms, we're gonna do this the same amount of times on this side, 10 times. So rounding, bringing the arms together as you exhale. Inhale, open. My front leg was straightening a little bit. Three more. And last one. This time I'm gonna bring my arms together. You can just leave them like this or even give yourself a hug, or I'm gonna come into a eagle arms, wrapping this front arm underneath and around the back arm. And release. We're gonna pivot around, coming into a kneeling lunge. Untuck the back toe. And then interlace the hands, and we're gonna open up here, stretching through the chest. And now coming into that hip again, you're going to tuck the tail here, maybe even bring the front leg back a little bit, and lean forward as you tuck to stretch out through this hip flexor. This muscle tends to get, or this, it's not a muscle, I guess it's a tendon, but this hip flexor tends to get really tight. Okay. So we want to stretch through here. All right, and coming back, stretch out now through the back of this left leg. We're going to come into some seated twists from here. So coming down onto your bum, let's take the right leg towards the left hip, and we're going to cross the left leg in front and making like the OK sign, or like the F in sign language. We're going to make this mudra for concentration, and we're going to bring the outside of this elbow, the outside of the right elbow to the outside of the left knee, and just stretch here. And release. Let's do a little counter stretch here. And then we're going to switch legs. And again, making the OK sign with your left hand, you're going to cross the left arm over towards the right thigh and twist to your right. Again, gentle counter stretch. Okay, let's release the legs. We're going to come into another fun hip stretch that I like, that's kind of a balance. So your knees are together, you're going to open them up gently, and making that OK sign again, we're going to bring the fingers through and then come up into like a boat pose, lifting those feet up. Stretch those legs out long. I'm going to reach for my feet, but if you just make it to the knees or the ankles or the shins, that's fine too. It's not about stretching the top of your body, it's about coming from the hip here. I'm going to do a little bit of a stretch for the upper back. You can do this by grabbing a hold of the back of the thigh if you want, and just stretching out. If you're a little bit more flexible, or if you want to have a bent leg, you can bend the leg and reach for the foot. And then you're just gonna kind of pull back with the shoulder to get a nice stretch through here. Okay, let's release on this side, and now we're gonna do the other side. So again, you can reach for the outside of the leg here, or you can bend the leg and grab a hold of the foot, or you can straighten the foot, whatever your level of flexibility is, and then you're just gonna pull back with your body, getting a nice stretch in the upper back here, a little bit of opposition. Release, and for a final back bend, we're gonna come into fish pose. Okay, so reaching behind you, you can just sit up in fish pose and just kind of squeeze your shoulder blades together without your arms being bent at all. Show this from here. Okay, this is a variation on fish pose. Or you can start to come down deeper if you like, down onto the elbows, and you really want to then squeeze here so that you're lifting up with your chest, and maybe relaxing the head and neck, or maybe keeping the chin tucked, whatever feels better for you. And don't collapse into this. You want to make sure that you're nice and lifted here. And let's release. Let's give our knees a hug here. We're going to do kind of a counter stretch here, just bringing the forehead to the knees. Let's come onto our backs for Shavasana. So gently lay down, stretch out your legs, palms up. legs from side to side here. And now just pick a side and you're gonna roll over onto that side. I'll roll towards ya. And sometimes it can feel kind of paralyzing because there's a lot of things out of our control right now. But all that matters is that you take one step at a time and breathe. Just do what you can. If you find yourself paralyzed, take a moment and take a few deep breaths. That always helps calm me and center me. Okay, let's come up to a seated position. We're going to do that same windshield wiper legs, giving the buns a little bit of a massage here. Into a seated position. Bring your hands to heart center and your thumbs to forehead center. Namaste. Don't forget to vote, yogis. Thank you.